we talk a lot about, how does that look? What does that look like to live in this world, to live out our values? And so we talk about current events largely from that perspective. Big fans of freedom, big fans of, we've talked about the concerns that we've had about the way the government has used some of these last couple of years as opportunities to oppress, and how that's really dangerous and really problematic. So just like where I'm coming from on any of that. And yeah, I just want to hear your story, hear what motivates your heart.
Well, I guess the way this started out is I've been in healthcare for a little over 22 years. And over the years, we've obviously seen healthcare change. Well, in this last couple of years, it has taken such a dive that I don't even recognize it anymore. This is why this movement is important to me. The vaccine mandates came down and, kind of took our choice away from us for our own bodies. I ended up having to file a religious exemption, and I don't believe that anybody should ever have to justify their faith to anybody, especially an employer.
Right.
With that being said, we got involved in this movement with the convoy, and essentially what we're petitioning here is to have the Emergency Powers Act removed. And that is what actually enables the mandates.
Could you talk a little bit more about that specifically, that piece of it?
As far as the Emergency Powers Act goes,
Yes.
or the mandates being enabled? Well, the way that works is that that is a federal act. It's not at a state level, which we know is how the mandates got out there in the first place. It's a serious federal overreach. We should be able to control this, within our own state. And I think a lot of our governors are doing their best, but, there's a lot of backlash and recourse that they're dealing with as well.
Well, and I think there are a lot of people that maybe were afraid to speak out before that are starting to step forward. And I don't know, are you guys seeing that as well?
Absolutely.
Yep.
When I started basically with protests, trying to stand up and exercise our First Amendment, and we went from, in the very beginning, I had about 15, 20 people on board. And, by the second, third protest, I was the only one left. People get very nervous and scared when you talk about taking their jobs away from them and their way to support their families.
Yeah. And that's been one of the things that I think, regardless of how people thought about, whether it's vaccines or other masks or other measures, I think what should have everybody up in arms and concerned for their fellow citizens' freedom, if not their own, is when you start talking about mandates and people's ability to make a living, to clamp down on. No one should be forced to make their private medical decisions based on whether or not they can keep a job. And yet that seems to be like that has been altogether too acceptable somehow for a if not a majority of people, at least a disturbingly big minority. So that's just my blunt opinion on the subject.
Right. No, and I 100% agree with you. I guess I need to make a very important statement here in the fact that we're not anti-mask, we're not anti-government, we're not anti-vaccine. We are pro-choice. And it should be up to the individual, the choices that are made for their own bodies.
And their families too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, it's pretty difficult to say I'm making a free choice when you think, well, if I don't do this, if I don't comply, then I'm not going to be able to eat and I'm not going to be able to feed my family. Like that's right. Compulsion. That's not
I
cool.
went through that part of it myself, and I stood strong in the beginning, and I was like, I'm not going to file an exemption. I'm not going to do this. And a group of us actually walked a bill, HF 902, through the House at the Capitol. And it's not the original bill that we went there for, because the original bill had wording like no mandates in it. And basically our employers, didn't feel that HF 902 was fitting for the situation.
You know where the speakers for this are?
So I guess I had to kind of back down and go against my own beliefs in filing a religious exemption to be able to get back to work because I
Mm.
was laid off on unpaid leave as of November 1st last year. And I'm just finally getting back to work a few weeks ago.
Well, and those are really difficult decisions to have to make. Like I said, I don't think people should be put in that position. And yet I applaud those who have been courageous enough to say, I believe strongly enough about this that I am willing to take a stand. And that's been a hard thing. No one should have to face those types of decisions, but it's time to stand up and say, no, this is not right. And it's also just not, it's not American. Like this is not the type of people that I think this nation was designed to raise up. We've been different for a reason. Now, Gina and Trent, as we're talking on behalf of the Midwest Freedom Convoy, correct? Now,
Yes.
how did this specifically as a form of protest or raising awareness, how did this come about?
She sucked me into it, so she's gonna have to explain that too.
It's all your fault.
So basically how this started is, as I told you, I had a protest group with a bunch of friends and some other leaders, and we all got together and kind of made those things happen. Going forward, I have been looking for a way to stand up against this tyrant. With that being said, I was involved in many other groups, and I guess it's best said that when healthcare and truckers stand together, it's probably time to pay attention.
Absolutely.
So I heard about the convoy and I started getting involved in the groups, and within one conversation to the next, it went from, oh, you've got some great ideas to, oh yeah, you're the admin now. So all of a sudden here I was as an admin and our groups got wiped out. We had 499 people and then all of a sudden it was gone. So we had to start all over. So we're running pretty strong at this point, and thank God I've got Trent on board because, and I'm so grateful for his wife as I steal so much of his time.
Who's actually holding the phone right now?
Yes.
And we have one of our big helpers standing off to the side. We're actually in her garage with the donations. She has rounded up a ton of donations here.
Well, and let's talk about, for people who can't see what's going on behind you, what I'm looking at is what looks almost like a warehouse full of supplies like bottled water and snacks and toilet paper. And I mean, this looks pretty big. And you said this is just one area where you have, and this is to support those truckers who are coming through our state on their way to DC, right?
Correct. Now it's not going to be just truckers though. It's the people in general. There's going to be POVs and RVs and multiple different types of vehicles. It's we the people banding together to stand up against this, for this fight.
So if people are participating, no matter what they're driving, whether it be a semi or whatever it is, these supplies are going to everybody that's going to participate.
So Trent, what motivates you when you're looking at this? We've heard a little bit of Gina's story. Could you tell us some of yours and why this is something that you believe you need to stand for?
I keep on chewing her out for bringing me in. I've been in this valley. You and I have met a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom. There's just what else can you say? We've got such a great nation, and we're seeing our liberties just chipped away all the time. And these past few years, we've just seen it in it's not just chips, it's just big boulders being knocked away. And knowing that I had logistical knowledge and everything, she called me up and I'm going, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to get back into this battle. I've been in this thing before. And then I got to thinking, I'd really kick myself in the rear if I don't do this, because this has the opportunity to be a historical event. And from what we're seeing on our side of things, it is absolutely going to be a historical event.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about that as well. I'm thinking of, our neighbors to the north in Canada, and people who are watching this, listening to this, are going to be familiar with the impact, because we talked about it on the show too. But all eyes were watching the trucker convoy in Canada, not sure what to make of it, probably at first at its inception. And then people started to listen. It became something that they couldn't ignore anymore. And I'm thinking of that. And are you hoping for a similar impact here in the United States? And what are some of the lessons that we have learned and are learning through what we've seen happen in Canada, and how that might apply here in the US?
Okay.
No blockades. That was a question we were asked yesterday by Iowa State Patrol, but if we had any activities planned around the Capitol. That's been brought up, but we have nobody from the higher up on down to us that has any plans for any level of blockades whatsoever. And we have not approved any activities around the Capitol either. It's just a roll through, it's a convoy.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we're going to be doing is peaceful and legal, and probably above everything else, safety. Everybody's got to be safe.
Yeah.
And
And
moving forward, we have to remember that the reason that we're doing this is so that our children have the ability to grow up in a free nation as well. I think that that's why this is so important to a lot of us. I have children myself, Trent grandchildren, and many of the folks involved, children and grandchildren. We cannot leave our great nation the way that it currently is and have it be a safe place for our children to grow up in without us here.
Well, and maybe we should touch a little bit on that, because there are probably people who are listening that think, okay, well, it kind of looks like, maybe we've weathered the worst of the storm, and maybe it's all just going to balance out. And a look at that, it's just in time for the midterms, coincidentals.
Right.
But if we look at what we've done, and in particular, because you mentioned kids, I've been really concerned about the impact of everything that we've done basically to the next generation over the last couple of years, and this quote unquote new normal, where children don't even see each other's faces anymore. And we're telling them it's dangerous to breathe air and be around other human beings.
Right.
And
Right.
we don't even know what some of that impact is going to be, but you just mentioned that it's on my heart as well. And what are some of the things, Gina, that you would like your children to know, and really all American children to know? What should they be hearing in contrast to what they've seen over the last couple of years?
Oh my goodness, the list is so long. I guess I don't know directly how to respond to that. I just know we're scaring our children away from a life that we originally thought we brought them into. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Sure.
what we grew up in, you were outside until the street lights turned on, and you fended for yourself for the most part. You came in, you made your own snacks, your lunch, whatnot. And where we're standing right now, I think emotion is one of the biggest things that I've lost with my children over time. Them being able to read that emotion on your face because that mask is blocking your face. So many children have been sick a lot of the time because you think about that, you're blocking the fresh air continuously. Our rise in RSV cases has gone through the roof, and now adults are testing positive for RSV. When have we ever heard of that? Along with, and I know that this is a very touchy subject, but if you go covering the facial features of children and those around them, where does the safety of that draw the line? Not being able, you have a camera picture, let's say that child has a mask on and a winter hat on. The only features that you're going to get from that child is their eyes. This ties into so many bigger things, which it's just a scary subject.
Right. Well, and I don't think it's a coincidence, for example, that people who want to do illegal or unspeakable, not kids, but people who want to do unspeakable things, now that everybody's wearing a mask and everything's covered up, there's a certain amount of, we see crime increase. we do see people that take advantage of perhaps of that sort of immunity, to coin a term. When, I mean, look at that. Could it be, not that I have ever had plans to rob a bank, but could it be any easier than when everybody is expected to wear masks? I'm just saying. Yeah, nobody rob banks, okay, kids, don't do it. But if you were gonna, a time when masks were not only in vogue but also enforced, that'd probably be the time to do it. Now, I know that as I was watching, for example, the Canadian version of this and seeing the governmental response as well, that was pretty overwhelming. That was almost jaw-dropping in its blatancy. Hopefully we won't have that kind of backlash going on in America. But the fact that we're even standing here at the precipice of a government that has dared to mandate, to force people to put certain substances into their bodies, calling it a public emergency, I'm not even sure I can predict what the reaction might attempt to be. But I'm sort of wondering what the expectation might be as the convoy rolls through. It's rolling through the state of Iowa this week. And the final stop is DC. So I'm not sure exactly if you guys know what you're going to predict, but what do you expect along the way and once you get there?
Well, for starters, when they get to DC, we're telling everybody, do not go inside the Beltway. I mean, that they are so well prepared there. They are expecting stuff, and there's some that believe that they want something to happen. But along the way, I think my idea is the amount of unity that this is going to build. What we've seen so far, just the People's Convoy going along the south. I just, as I pulled into the drive here, I watched a video and I showed it to my wife. A police helicopter with a cable and a big flag flying around the convoy, and you know, that brings another aspect into things. You know, there's rumors floating out around that this law enforcement agency doesn't want the convoy. This other one doesn't. We are finding exactly to the contrary. A big one was supposedly Illinois didn't want any convoy in their state, and Gina and I had a very, very nice conversation with the Illinois State Patrol yesterday, and rest assured, those rumors are not true.
So you're finding some support from maybe some unforeseen quarters, huh?
No, I don't see it as unforeseen, because the people that support freedom also have a pretty strong tendency to back blue. So I think it's a partnership. It's a really good partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the areas where maybe I'm sure you've gotten feedback, positive and negative. What are some of the areas where maybe there's some misconceptions, or people think that, or they get an idea from somewhere that you would seek to clarify that's, you know, here's actually what we're about?
You know, the big one that we've been hearing about was the convoys dissolving. It actually started today at a couple different points. No, it's not dissolving. Rest assured, it's not dissolving. So,
And there's so many different convoys coming together that it's hard to wrap your head around. You know, they're leaving points like Florida, Texas, California, Utah, Washington. All of this is coming together. It definitely is not dissolving by any means. You're going to see in some states that some people are just riding in that state, or that's their final point because they have to get back to work, or whatever their case may be. You know, so maybe they do see some people dropping off and think that it's dissolving, but it's going to build momentum the further it gets.
well, and another thing to think about also is it's coming through Iowa. Guess when? On a Saturday. We couldn't ask for a better day for it to come through Iowa. And the stuff we're seeing and the outpouring of support is just going to be amazing. And I actually wish I could ride the whole route. I really do. I'm staying behind for logistics, and I actually have a company to run. So, but I will be helping getting the videos, the pictures and whatnot out there for people to see. The level of unity that's going to come forward here. The people that are involved in the background, and we've got so many good people, like the lady that I'm looking at right now, Chandra is her name. I'm gonna say it. We've got just a great team that we're working with.
We could not be more
so
grateful
hard
for the folks that they're working on this in Iowa. Well, and in every state, please don't get me wrong, but the amount of people that have united to make this happen just in Iowa alone is by and large way bigger than I could have ever imagined.
Well, and I know that you're seeing it from lots of different quarters, like you said, that it's not just about truckers, but it's about people from many different areas, walks of life that are all coming together around this one message that says, no, we need to be free. We need to be free. And we need to not be imposing these types of mandates, right?
Yeah, I think the more that comes out following the vaccines and whatnot, the more that gets revealed, the further we go, the more regret there is out there. I actually got the first 2 doses. I won't get another one. You know, I don't know. You know, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I wish I wouldn't have. I really do. So.
Well, and when you're being pressured into making those types of decisions, that can be, that's again, a whole different level of wrong, I think.
You have people on, you know, organ transplant lists that have been waiting on those lists for, you know, only God knows how long, and are being denied these organs all of a sudden because they won't put a chemical into their body that they don't even know whether it could make that rejection happen or not.
That's actually in line with one of our a very touching story from one of our upper leads that we're dealing with. Do you recall that whole conversation? Because I think it's important to get in here. Jared is his name.
So his granddaughter, I believe around the age of 2, had to have a heart transplant. And so she's been living with heart troubles, you know, pretty much her whole life. Had to have a heart transplant, and now they're trying to, you know, force her to get the vaccine, saying that if she needs one in the future, that she wouldn't be able to get it because she doesn't have the vaccine.
Isn't that sad?
Now, if you want to think about that, the number one side effect from these vaccinations is myocarditis, which is a heart problem.
Yeah.
Why would we be doing this? I mean, there's many theories. I'm not going to go into that, but it's just wrong. These are our children.
When he was telling us that story, you could hear him getting choked up again.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times he's told that story, but it was just, it touched me. And as you know, I was excited to do this, but that really made it that much more important.
Definitely. Well, and not to mention that it just doesn't make sense from a risk mitigation standpoint to say a 2-year-old, you know, who has probably the best odds of most demographics of surviving the actual infection that they're trying to they say they're trying to defend against.
But
11 or 12.
It's 11 or 12. I believe she is now. She's been
okay.
old, but either way, the point is,
yes,
why would you put that number one side effect in there with a child that already has issues like that?
Definitely. That's it. So much of what I have been a little stymied by, and honestly a little bit like, Lord, help me be compassionate, because I don't understand where people are coming from, is that so much of what we're doing doesn't really make sense. It's more of an appeal to authority. And folks say, if you believe this, then you're on the quote unquote right side. You're morally acceptable because you trust the science. And the science has been translated to mean those in positions of power over me that tell me what to do. And that to me flies in the face of what was always the quintessential American spirit, which is a spirit of independence, of self-determination, of saying, okay, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to understand what's right and wrong. And I can be free to work that out in my life and serve him the best I can. And that's the beauty of freedom, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. All of those things were well and good up until, I guess, a couple of years ago, when now, now they're out of vogue. I don't give up on those virtues. And I don't think that we should either. And so that's why I am happy to talk about efforts like this to I guess, reignite that spark and show that this is, we as the American people cannot just go gently down a road where we're just being told what to do and being made afraid and into compliance anymore. That's not who we are. That's not been who we are.
Word right there anymore. Sadly, we've been doing that for far too long now, and that's why we're up against this big battle like we are.
It is a big battle, and I definitely appreciate the size of the behemoth that it seems like we're up against, because maybe we've been asleep at the wheel a little bit. Now that government has gotten big enough where a little too big for their britches, they say, okay, we can mandate this, and like, no, this is not gonna this is not how we do this here. So as people are hearing this, if they're inspired to support the effort, if they want to know more, what are some ways that they can do that? What are some ways that they can connect?
So we have a couple of different platforms set up. We have a Facebook page, which is I can't talk, I apologize.
Oh goodness, that's okay. I know what it's like.
We also have a Telegram page set up, Convoy 2022. Oops, sorry. I'm hitting Trent over here.
From my wife.
I guess I don't really know another way as far as, reaching out to those in your community. We have flyers up all over the place. The QR code for the Facebook, and I believe Telegram link is on there.
Facebook only.
Is it just Facebook? Yep. Okay. So
if people want to help get the word out, we have flyers on the Facebook page, if they have Facebook yet. A lot of people have gotten rid of it. However, there's some good quality flyers there that they can print out and get posted wherever. Beauty salons, I mean, just even if there's only a few people that come in there, you get the snowball effect. You get one person that supports it, they're going to go out and tell 5 or 10 more people. So we're not getting a lot of negative yet. However, I've got everybody on standby for it.
Yeah, well, and the day that, for Central Iowa audiences specifically, the day that this convoy is coming through Central Iowa is March 5th, correct?
So it's complicated. We have two different groups converging in Iowa.
Okay.
And I really would like for Iowans to show support for the Western group that will be coming in. I keep in mind, this has never been done before, so it's not exact science. They are scheduled to hit Des Moines about 9 p.m. However, I think there'll be some delays. I don't know what size of delays. So if people are west of Des Moines all the way to Council Bluffs, I think it'd be great to show all those Western drivers a lot of support, and from what I was made of, obviously. But the timing is going to be, people have to be patient. That's all they've got to be. Just be patient. I'm thinking around 6 o'clock area, 6:30 area for Council Bluffs, and then it'll just keep them working across. It's a matter of calculating the miles
in the morning,
and speed.
that is.
No, on 4th.
Oh, on the 4th.
The night of the 4th, around 6 p.m. area, and then they'll just roll across. They're going to roll into west side of Des Moines. That is now, and I keep on getting this messed up because I drove truck for years. The Love's truck stop, which used to be a Flying J, and then just north of that is the Pilot. That was a privately owned truck stop years ago. That's where they're going to be going. We are actually planned on setting up in Altoona. 8 a.m. is when the Western groups plan on leaving the west side truck stops, and our people are scheduled to leave right around 9 o'clock area. So we'll see how it all goes. There's not going to be exact science, and it's not going to go perfect. But again, everybody safe. Be safe. Be very safe. Watch out. Those trucks are big. Their visibility is poor. Just be safe around those trucks, please.
Don't forget the 5th. You talked about the 4th. Don't forget the 5th.
The 5th. Taking off at 8 a.m. on the 5th, and then our groups will be taking off about 9 o'clock from Altoona. But they're actually starting to clear up in Sioux City, and it's all scheduled out where they'll all just start merging together.
Okay, so, and that merge is taking place. I guess that's the picture that I had in my head for sure, because I am most familiar with central Iowa. So I know that if people can kind of get a central location, then you're most likely to see some of the support converge at that time. And that's going to be on the morning of the 5th, right?
Yep.
And,
Right,
and
probably-
we do have each one of those places set up that they will be coming through for sure on I-80, and that being Sioux City. What's the next
Sioux
one?
City's going to come down and merge into 80.
Yep.
And we have Council Bluffs that will tie in with them. Avoca is the next spot that will tie in. And they'll just start merging along the way. If people are along the way, hey, you know what? Join in. It's your convoy just as well as it is anybody else's.
Absolutely.
Right. You know, hey, I might have been setting out for Walmart that morning, but yeah, I could take a detour. I could join in for a little bit. My husband
Sure,
probably
why
won't
not?
miss me until the next day. Sure. Yeah. Just me and my minivan.
You just have to call the pickup in for Walmart and let them know that you're going to need a 24-hour hold on that.
There you go. Gina and Trent with the Midwest Freedom Convoy have been my guests, and I do think it's important to be setting, whether or not, you know, no matter where you're coming from, whatever walk of life you find yourself in, these issues are affecting all of us. And that's one thing that we've seen again in our, God bless our neighbors to the north up in Canada, that we're willing to take a stand and say, no, we cannot allow our government to impose on us this way. It's not acceptable. It's gone too far. And we're willing to take a stand, and many times at great personal cost, because, you know, just as a little side note, we're doing this at a time when fuel is incredibly expensive.
Right.
So, and you know, that's
And not
no
one
joke.
of us is getting paid to do this. We're all taking time off of work to be able to do this and take a stand for everybody.
So I applaud you for taking that stand and for getting involved. Gina and Trent with the Midwest Freedom Convoy. Thank you so much for joining the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.